All right, well, welcome to another Red Feather Mind Body Spirit interview event. I'm Christopher McClure, and today we have two very special guests, creators Ellen Valladares and Yasmine Westwood, who are creators most recently of the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle together. It's beautiful. Just came in a little bit ago, and Tarot of Enchanted Soul, which Yasmine did. So I want to catch up to talk about these the beautiful products here, and but first I want to talk a little bit about Ellen and Yasmine's backgrounds. So Ellen Valladares is an award-winning author, a freelance writer, and a workshop and a retreat leader, a native Floridian. She grew up in St. Petersburg and currently lives in South Florida. Ellen believes in the magic of the universe, and over the last 20 years has taught numerous classes about angels, intuition, meditation, and manifestation. Her most recent release, a mystical young adult novel entitled Crossing the Line, received several awards, including the Gold Award for Teen Books from the 2019 Coalition of Visionary Resources Cover Visionary Awards. Yasmine Westwood is a self-taught photo manipulation artist living in Perthshire in Scotland. Her first deck, The Tarot of the Enchanted Dreams, was released in December of 2019. She was a finalist for her artwork for the Empower Mums in Business National Book Awards in 2019. She was runner-up in two categories at the International Tarot Foundation Carta Awards in 2019 for Best Illustrator of a Tarot Deck and Best Self-Published Tarot Deck, and she won bronze for the Tarot Decks in the Cover Visionary Awards in 2020. So wonderful to have you both here. I just adore this deck, the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle. Just gorgeous, and there's so much beauty in this, and I'm looking forward to talking to you both about it. But I always like to kind of get stories out first. So the divination stories, how you kind of came to divination and cartomancy, which we're doing so much of here now. So Ellen, what brought you into divination and cartomancy? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, so interesting. So that really came kind of at the beginning of my spiritual journey, which started, gosh, over, yeah, 28, 30 years ago. I don't know now. But, it's funny because I was just thinking that, like everybody are, well, not like everybody, a lot of people, my spiritual journey kind of started in grief and healing. And now I'm kind of in this point to share joy. So I kind of love that. I was thinking about that with the Hummingbird Wisdom. But anyway, so one of my first things I really delved into on my spiritual journey were angels. And I started working with and training with Doreen Virtue. And so I think my first cards were the angel cards. And really, I became addicted, and I have tons of them. And I always, I did professional readings for, a short time that I reading the cards and reading for people. And I love to use them for guidance. I love, they're not the intuition, they're the thing that confirms what you're feeling and knowing. And I love that. So even when I'm mentoring people, I use them, but I use them like daily for myself. So really it was the angel cards. And for years I taught classes and always, taught about the cards and using the cards, and I just love them. So that's kind of how I came to them.
Okay, that's a lovely story. Yasmine, how did you come to cartomancy and the divination?
I think I must have been when I was about 14 or 15, and I saw a book on tarot in the library.
Okay.
And straight away I was just intrigued by all these pictures because, as Ellen knows, I live in a completely different world, and those pictures allowed me to access, different worlds and just imagine what it'd be like to be in those pictures. That was then, and then about maybe 16, 17 years ago, I kind of came back into and discovered tarot again, bought my first tarot deck, and was always interested in the images. It was always the images that were important to me, more so than the text or what they meant or anything. And I just started using them for myself, just reading for myself basically, and that was it.
Wonderful. I like how you said the confirmation of intuition, or that how that brings that out. So that's actually a very good demarcation as far as the difference really is. And I think that's how a lot of these cards can be used really to confirm in a very gentle way. This is just it's a gentle, beautiful deck, and just the presentation is just it's fun, and it begs to be played with, to be explored. Really,
Yes,
it really
yes.
does. You want to open it, you want to just dive into it there too, and they're all just delightful images throughout, really. So how did this come together for you to come together for the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle? How that happened?
Yeah. So, I think it was always, in my wish list that I wanted to create an oracle card deck. But it kind of snuck up on me, surprised me a little. But I've always so for years, for myself, I kind of, I do meditation, and then I write messages that are kind of bringing through wisdom. So I have notebooks and notebooks of messages. And then, a few years ago, I started to say, well, I could use some of these, and I'd like to put together a deck that's a little different than the things that I have, a little bit more of that, I don't know, based on the joy and manifesting joy in your life, and very positive and uplifting. So I kind of started to put the messages together, but had not connected Hummingbird to them at all. So then Hummingbird physically showed up in my life. So I'm sitting in my office where I am now, and I heard a little tap on my window, and I swear I look out and this little hummingbird is hovering outside my window. And then it's gone. And I'm like, okay, crazy lady, did you really see that? Because I've been in this house for 25 years, and I've never, there's nobody, everybody in my neighborhood would still say, there's no hummingbirds in South Florida, in Weston or whatever, So, but there are in my backyard. So anyway, they started coming more and more, but still it was in my family, a thing, only I was seeing them, because, that's the magic of them. They show up, you have to be in the right place in the right time, right to see them. So they kept showing up for me, and of course I like to look at the symbolism, and they were all about joy and drinking in the nectar of life, and there were so many messages that I was getting from them. And then basically it hit me like a lightning bolt, all the inspiration does. I mean, people always ask, what inspired this? And it's so hard to put your finger on it, because it's spirit, right? It's coming from something beyond you. And so it just hit me up, the hummingbirds. I would love a hummingbird deck. We're going to make this deck a hummingbird deck. And I just knew in my heart and soul, that I had to do it. So that's kind of how it all started. And and I'd love to tell the story of how I found Yasmine and how we met.
Go ahead. Or Yasmine, whoever, if you want to.
So it was on the Coalition of Visionary Resources Facebook page, and I think Ellen put a post up saying, I'm looking for an artist. Do you know anybody who can design a deck for me? And I responded, didn't I? And Ellen's like, yeah, okay, well, can you do one card as a sample? Here's a message. And coincidentally, it's the very card that you've used as a cover of the deck, which you didn't know about.
Yeah. Okay, can we see
Smooth Flight? So that was like a sample piece of artwork that I did for Ellen, and that was it. I think you fell in love with that image, and we chatted, and we decided to create this deck.
Fell in love is an understatement. So
okay.
First of all, I didn't even know I was really looking for an artist. When I put that question, really, it was do I need an artist? Anyway, and then Yasmine showed up, and she sent me this picture that I can't even tell you how it blew me away, because I had been looking at stock art of hummingbirds and things that was just that's funny right now. This was I cried basically, because it was just it captured everything that I had in beyond my vision, the beauty and the magic and the mysticism, and wow. So I was like, Yasmine, please work with me.
And the thing is, Ellen hadn't told me what she wanted in the image. It was just a message that you sent me, wasn't it? There was nothing, it has to look like this, it's got to have that in it or this in it. And that was the start of our special journey, wasn't it? We just fitted so well together. And we've just created this magic.
I think Yasmine has said, these things kind of just created themselves basically, but I have never had a more fun project that I've worked on. And maybe, because we were working together too, but yeah, it was really magic. So yeah.
So it certainly sounds like it. I mean, hummingbirds, for so many people, they are holders of magic. They bring magic to people. I mean, I know that and it's things that people share generationally, too, granddaughters to grandmothers, and they touch so many people. And so that's why I think this deck will resonate with so many people too. And I've had the feeders in my backyard and things like that, and just that you have the feeder there. When they show up, it's just it's like an event, right? So it's like, wow, look, I actually, and it's so fast.
I don't know. We don't get them in Scotland, so
Oh,
I've
okay,
never seen a
gotcha.
hummingbird.
It's really, and you try and record them too, but by the time you try and record them, they're gone. You know,
Forget it.
forget
I think
exactly.
they purposely like leave when you get the camera
I
out.
know
Yeah, too.
exactly right. They want to preserve their own magic there.
Yeah. Oh, you should, like when they show up at the theater, I'm like, hummingbird, hummingbird. Yeah, no, yeah.
Exactly, and it's there for that reason. But even when they show up, it's still an event, right?
Ellen
Exactly.
usually messages me and says, I saw a hummingbird today, or she sent me a picture if she manages to capture one. I
Right.
saw a hummingbird today. It's outside in my garden. I'm going, okay, I've never seen one. So
Oh, jeez.
And you know what? It was so metaphorical if we want to talk about the journey. First of all, what you're
Sure.
saying too about the stories of the hummingbirds is
Yes.
that I had so many people when I was working on these come to me like and tell me their story about their loved one who
Exactly.
always
So
comes
many.
to them, you
Right.
know, with the
Mhm.
hummingbirds,
Mhm.
or, you know, I see their hummingbird tattoo, or I have chills,
Mhm.
you know, so I love, yeah, people do have very special connections, but I love that. So like, you know, at first it was like this one little hummingbird I felt that would show up, you know, and then, you know, you put the feeder out and more like every year, like just more were coming. And so now, and it's like, now I just know they're coming. And my
Mhm.
neighbor, we one time put out a feeder, so we had a lot of hummingbirds. And so I just thought it was, and more people could see them. So I thought it was metaphorical about the journey, because first the Hummingbird Wisdom was just kind of for us. And now we're kind
Mhm.
of, now
mm,
everybody can see it, you know, and we're sharing it. And now they just left for the season. So I'm kind of saying, well, they're often flying into the world like the cards. So
Exactly. But you can access them whenever you want with these cards.
yes, I,
That's just
yes,
it, you know.
yes,
And
yes.
they're not fleeting; they're right here.
Right.
So you mentioned the hummingbird wisdom. What exactly is hummingbird wisdom? How would you define that? Can you define that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about how I would define it. Let's see. So I think as I put the messages together, that I realized it kind of became this teaching, you know, more so. And there's a lot of teachings. So all the wisdom is really about connecting with that sweetness of life. I would think that that's kind of the overarching message. And in doing that is really connecting with alignment and flow of life, right?
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot of wisdom and practical tools. And then I think I came up with this acronym about the Hummingbird Magic, because
Yes.
those are kind of the practical tools to keep you in the alignment. And it's a lot of the wisdom that's shared in there. So it stands for meditation, appreciation, going outside, intuition, and celebrating. And these are things like I've been doing. So it's my life experience combined in there that, you know, have really been transformational for me, you know. So that's kind of the wisdom and magic. But I also want to say that I feel like for this audience, an important message is that, you know, you matter. Like, don't ever feel too small, because sometimes this world and in the, you know, social media world, it feels so vast and you feel tiny, and but
Mhm.
you're just as beautiful as that little hummingbird. And you show up when you show up, and when you align and you take time to connect, you know, you're sharing your beauty and magic in the world, just like the hummingbirds. So I think
oh,
that's a
that's
lot
so
of the
beautiful.
wisdom
That's very,
That's so beautiful.
very touching. Yeah, in the book there's a quote in there that's that life is meant to be joyful and full of sweetness. I think that's what you were really expressing, with that. And yeah, they have a tremendous impact on so many. So as you were working on this together, what did you enjoy really creating it? How did together? What was that like? What did you enjoy about that aspect of things?
I just loved how in tune we were. We were so in
Yes.
tune. It was no, there was no effort involved in creating this. And Ellen would send me the messages that that are in the guidebook and just leave me to create whatever came. And I think
Okay.
I told Ellen last night that I actually didn't even read all of the messages at times. I would just get a feel for the message,
Wow.
and what I would create would be what I felt.
Hmm.
And I think it was maybe only once that you made a tiny little tweak on one of the images, but every single time we were just so in tune. We just knew.
yeah.
I can't even explain it. It was magic. It was complete and
Like,
utter magic.
it was
Right.
like getting a birthday gift every time I opened up like
Oh, I'm
the
sure.
image that was coming for the message.
It
I was
was
like,
probably like, Whenever you saw an email or however the delivery is like, oh yay, another one there. So it's
And
interesting.
I would be so nervous beforehand sending it to you, going, oh my God, maybe she might find fault in it. Maybe there might be something in there she doesn't like, but she never did. You never ever did. But it was magic, wasn't it, working together?
Yeah. And that was really so fun, just getting to know you and all that, and the synergy of us working together, and yeah, and the whole creation process. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's interesting. I just picked up the book here, and I opened to the card that is on the cover, and the book, the smooth flight, smooth flight. So, and it sounds like the entire process was a smooth flight, just
It
from
was.
the very beginning. It really interesting how it came together. You mentioned the Coalition of Visionary Resources. I was on the board of the cover for about 5 years. A great organization. They do so much for the mind, body, spirit industry. Too, it's neat that you were able to connect in that way. But it's interesting. I opened that one very right. So it was kind of, it embodies how the deck came together too. So there's an interesting thing in this deck that you call flying cards, and if you can kind of like maybe explain what the flying cards are, kind of goes with the theme of the deck. What
Right. Yeah. So when you're reading oracle cards, a lot of times you're shuffling the deck and just getting a feel for kind of when to stop or when to pick the card. But a lot of times you'll know a card just flies out. Sometimes they call them jumping, but the hummingbird cards fly out. So when that happens, that just is a very strong message for you. That is like the universe saying, pay attention. This one is really, and Yasmine was saying, like, it's funny sometimes, you see them and then you put them back and say, well, I don't know if that's really for me. Right? And then it jumps out again. And
like,
oh
gosh,
again. Okay.
Right. So you really see it then. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's the flying card for sure.
That's really cool. And a similar thing happens in tarot too. And we mentioned the Tarot of Enchanted Soul, which is coming out next month. But it is officially here too. And believe it or not, actually, these pair very well together. I think the Tarot of the Enchanted Soul and the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle too. Now, were they being created concurrently, or I mean, you're working on so many projects, Yasmine. No.
I know I've lost track of how many projects I'm doing. No, I did this.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I had finished Enchanted Soul before I started. Started Hummingbird. I was just about finishing it, I think, at that time. Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. So it's amazing how nicely they work together, and the artwork, of course, flows together as one would imagine. Too, and so so a lot of people use tarot with oracle or vice versa. So, and I think this oracle deck, the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle, does pair well with any other divination system, because it's just that little, if we use a flit, how I think that's what they're calling it. They kind of fly in there too. It's just that extra bit of intuition that I think the Hummingbird can give to any reading, whether it's been with tarot or any other oracle. As well too. And there's another aspect to this that I want to talk about as well with the Hummingbird Wisdom, which is angels. It seems that angels do play a role here in this, which one might not expect, but what roles do angels play in the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle?
So, as I mentioned, angels have been a part of my life for a long time. So that's just kind of every day I work with the angels. So they couldn't help but seep into the deck a little bit. So and yeah, I feel like they're always around giving me guidance. So some of the angels do show up. I mean, I think mainly Archangel Michael, if people are familiar. I mean, he's the angel of courage and strength, and so he shows up a little bit in there. But also, you can always call on the angels to help you with as you're reading the deck, right? So just kind of saying, angels, please help me get a clear message here, and make a little prayer before you say the deck. So you can always or give me more clarity about that wisdom or whatever. So so it all weaves in together. So yeah, and yeah, we'll get more into the angels in the angel deck.
Right.
We will indeed.
Next time.
That's a whole nother interview, I think.
A whole other interview, exactly. Yeah. So even within this little book, it's a small book, but there's a lot of great stuff in here. You do some great things about prepping, actually, for your readings as well too. So you're creating a sacred space and asking the question how to clear your cards as well. So it's a good preparation for that anyone could use for any process they want to get into to really clear the mind and be open to their intuitions as well. So now, do you both read a deck? Now, Ellen, I'm presuming you talked about angels decks and those kind of things. Yasmeen, do you read tarot and oracle?
Just for myself, but even then I kind of make it read what I want it to read, so I'm not very good at it.
So
I love getting readings though. I think I create the art, but I'm not very good at reading, which is so weird. Yeah.
Well, no, that's okay. So, but I'm sure you're not alone. I've pulled many a 10 of swords, and like good news, so which normally is not. I think we're all guilty of that. So now you've both been working in the mind by spirit industry for a while. So have things changed over the time that you've been working within the industry? Here, Ellen, how's the mind by spirit changed?
I love that question, Chris, because wow, have they changed?
Has it changed? Hello.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Yasmeen and I were kind of talking about this too, that gosh, when I started teaching a long time ago, I mean, meditation was woo-woo and so it's amazing now. And I love it that really you can go, it's so mainstream and there's an app for that, so,
yeah, there are many.
really you can find so much out there. And so it's so accessible now. So yeah, and there's so many, I guess, new voices that have come out. I just starting, I remember, I mean, it was really like, I think you had your few main teachers that were those notable speaker authors, your Wayne Dyers and Louise Hay and those things. And now there's just a very broad spectrum of people breaking through. And also we were just very much in our smaller local groups, and you had your email for connection basically, right? And so now you can connect on such a greater level. And I always feel like everybody's got something to share, right? So you find the person, the teacher or whoever, or another person that resonates with you. And it's also the law of attraction. You just, you connect. So it's kind of amazing that, just how much is out there and available. And you got to put your intention, of what you resonate with, and it'll come to you.
Exactly. Well, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right.
So that's kind of a truism too. Yasmeen, how about you as far as, as long as you've been in the industry?
I think for me, it has changed there's so many more tarot decks out there now. I think when I first saw those years ago, first discovered tarot, there was just, your Rider-Waite or your, and a couple of other ones, and that was it. And I think sort of the advent of Photoshop, certainly for me, it's opened up like so many artists who didn't know they were artists. I can't draw to save my life. I can't paint to save my life either, but I can do Photoshop art, and maybe years ago, I would never have thought of creating a tarot deck because I thought you only did it by painting or, drawing or whatever. Whereas now, I think, there's so many tarot decks out there and they're just fantastic. There's so much choice now. And it's kind of a little bit hard to stand out.
It's wonderful. Well, I mean, even for as much choice as there is a different decks going to resonate with different people too. And I think that's not a bad thing. I mean, everyone's going to gravitate towards different art styles or different themes or those kinds of things. And so, the more that's out there, the more potential there is for people to gravitate towards something or find something that's really going to work for them and make a difference for them as well. So
and I think, like what Ellen said, we don't have to hide anymore. Before I used to hide the tarot books and not let anybody see I was reading them, whereas now I openly tell people, hey, I design tarot decks. I wouldn't have thought of saying that a few years ago, and people are much more accepting. And when you tell them that, they're like, oh yeah, we love tarot, and people are actually more aware of it and are using it much more than what they did, say, a few years back. So it has changed in that respect a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of younger people too,
right?
Like,
and
I would say, I was in the spiritual closet. I'm just coming out, so So I get that too.
That's interesting. It's interesting with there are specialty stores too, metaphysical stores out there too, and it's even shifted over in that way. So you had people who were really like at the beginning of the Aquarian age. I would say that's what pops in my head. The New Age. Who started these stores, and now the younger generations are taking them over, opening their own. And so it's really great to see how this has grown over time and acceptance as well. So I guess for them, both of you, I mean, there's so many things out there. You mentioned, how do you decide what to do next? How do you gravitate towards, like Yasmine, as far as what's your process like, first of all? And then how do you gravitate towards the next thing? How do you decide what's next for you?
What my process for creating. So I've said, we were chatting about this last night, weren't we, Ellen? And I think I've mentioned to you before, Chris, like a lot of the times I don't create this stuff, right? I don't know what I'm creating half the time. It just happens. And it's a really weird to explain that process. Because I can sit in front of a computer and say, right, today I'm going to create the sun card from, the tarot deck. Right. I have no idea what that sun card is going to look like by the end of the day. So I don't go in with a set, this is what's got to have in it. So my process is weird. It's, I don't plan it. I just let it happen. And as for inspiration, it can just come from anywhere and everywhere. There is no set process for me. I can't explain it.
No, that's a fine explanation, really. I mean, following intuition and just coming through you. I've had multiple conversations with other creators, and that's how the process works for many creators. Really, it just kind of flows through them. To now, Ellen, for your writings too, do you find a similar kind of process too, or just once you're in the zone, it just kind of comes out?
Yeah, totally. Like if you start thinking what's next, sometimes that's a block almost, it's really when you're exactly. It's more when you're in that relaxed, easy, a lot of times, like it's funny, like a lot of times when I'm going on vacation, or I guess because you're really relaxed, or these ideas come driving in the car certain times when you're just really not engaged, right? So you never know where it's going, but I've learned, if anything, with all my creative projects is just trust it and keep trusting it when it does come, because even though you get those, sometimes you get a lot of little obstacles, but that's all part of the creation process, really, and so we had a little of that, but I had that before, but once I met Yasmine, it was like green light to go, no obstacles.
There you go. Good. It's funny you mentioned driving. I call my car like my rolling chapel, because I get the best inspiration sometimes just driving too. So it's amazing. So what I'd love to do is, I think we would do this with next year, is to maybe do a reading, perhaps if we could, to see what it springs like. What I would like to do actually is maybe pull a card, and I'll do it. I'll tell you, I'll pull it. I'll pull a card from Enchanted Soul. And then we'll supplement that with the Hummingbird Wisdom. Now, I'm not a reader, and so this will be kind of like it's going to be on the fly, and so we'll see.
But I warned you that I'm not a reader either.
Good. All right. So it'll all be on Ellen. So
I'll print it on Ellen.
No pressure.
Tarot, you're going to have to read.
I've got to remember what I wrote for the Enchanted Soul.
We'll see how this goes. It could be a complete flop. We'll see. No pressure or anything like that. It's just spur. So it's going to be about how the summer, or the spring and summer will go, and so in general for the world. Okay, I'll say for the world, and say Soul.
If this doesn't work, can we cut it out, this section?
Sure, we can. All right, I have all. I have all good cards. I have all 10 of Wands. That's all I'll pull. I'll just stick to the. Okay, well, here we go. I just pulled.
Put the 10 of Wands back in.
What's that? Put it back in.
Just put the 10 of Wands back in. That's important. That's loads.
Right. I'm going sideways here. So let me just. I'll just shuffle a little bit here, and then we'll pull one of these here for this. This is the summer. All right, so we're getting the seven of cups. I can deal with that. 7 of cups. Actually, beautiful. It's swans.
Ooh,
actually, this is a good supplement. Good segue into the Hummingbird Wisdom. So with these here on the Tower of the Enchanted Soul, it's and you have keywords here on the bottom for these 7 of cups. It's daydreaming, choices, fantasies, illusions, opportunities, and procrastination. I'm bad at that. So we'll go with 7 of cups here.
I love that.
Yes, yes, I think that's perfect. And so that'll be our tarot card here. And then for our Hummingbird Wisdom, let's see what we get here. I love this little ribbon by the way.
I love that little ribbon.
Pops out there, yeah. That's
And the magnetic will cover. The packaging is gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, we're so happy with this. I don't want to cheat and pull one. Oh, look at that. All right. So okay, so how we have here, and we have Hearts Aflutter. Oh boy. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So wow, look at that. Now this is for everybody. This is for the world here. So the phrase here on it's join in the dance of romance that is swirling around you, world. Open your wings and let love in. So we have 7 of Cups, and then which is choices and fantasies. Interesting. They kind of do blend together.
They do, don't they? They go
I'll tell
quite
you,
nice together.
what I get from that, it really is, you know, spend your time imagining. Well, I want to say stop watching the news and let's spend some time imagining and daydreaming about what we want to see, right? And create that. So it's time to really use our imagination for good and try to not go into the negative imagination, because we all are creators and together we're powerful creators. And that Hearts of Flutter is like, you know, to feel that fluttering in your heart that is really the love that beats within us all, right? And that's like our greatest partner is the universe, spirit, whatever, you know. So dancing in partner with, you know, with that and creating more love in the world, right? And just and love for yourself. Yeah.
Wonderful.
See, that's why you're the reader.
That's I think that's exactly what we need, and that gives me hope for the spring and the summer as well. Yeah. So fantastic, wonderful. So what lies ahead for both of you? So what's up next for Ellen? What's coming up for you?
What's next? We're not supposed to no. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're waiting for that inspiration to come for the next deck. So yeah, because it's too fun. Like we just, you know, we have fun creating together. So we'd love to do another deck. And yeah, and personally, and I'm sorry, I really want to start teaching some more classes and mentoring and doing some more of that. So that's what's on my plate.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have one coming out a little later then. So looking forward to those. And Yasmine, what's coming up for you? What's lies ahead for you?
Just lots more creating. I'm working on a deck just now, a tarot deck called the Westwood Tarot. And it's going to be fun and magical, and it's got like woodland creatures and forest creatures and sea creatures and no humans in this one. It's just animals. So I'm creating that, and then I'm working on a couple of other decks as well. And I'm going to keep creating as long as I can.
Just keep creating. Just be.
That's
creating.
Exactly what I'm doing.
Creating, or that's not J. Always be creating. That's what I want to say.
I am, and then obviously working. I'm hoping to do another one with Ellen as soon as we kind of inspiration hits us.
Where the inspiration hits, you know, I'm sure perhaps after this is where it starts. Probably it's going to start here. I can feel it. And go into the next thing. This is where it starts. So now you're both on social media. Yes. Wonderful. So you're both on social media, and how can your readers and your followers interact with you?
Yeah, so Instagram at Valladares Ellen, and there's a giveaway going on. Can I mention?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So also, mine's in the U.S. and then Yasmine, she'll tell you, is doing one for the UK. So yeah, so look for that giveaway post. For now, you know, it expires, I think, Sunday night. You can also look at my website, ellenvalladares.com. You can download a free Hummingbird Magic toolkit if you sign up for my emails, and that's on there. We also have the Angels of Healing and Hope Facebook group, which is based on our new deck coming up. Well, that's kind of where it got created, but you'll also, if you join that group, you kind of get some weekly messages. So you're all invited to enjoy and you know, to join that. And I think that's mainly it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yasmine, how about you? How do people?
Instagram at Enchanted Soul Art, and I've also got a website, enchantedsoulart.co.uk. where there's like loads of pictures, all the decks that I'm working on and have finished, as well as you can buy prints of the artwork as well on the website. For all my decks, any of the images that are there, you know, you can download them, buy them as digital copies or as hard copies as well. And I will be running a Hummingbird giveaway from Saturday till the 31st of March for people living in the UK only. And yeah, I think that's all my social media so far.
Okay, great. It's a wonderful digital world we live in here now. So, all right. Well, thank you both for you know, being a part of this. It's been great to chat about this deck. I love them both here. And so the Hummingbird Wisdom Oracle is available wherever decks are sold, and trade things are sold too. Is also available on redfeathermbs.com. So many thanks to Ellen Valladares and Yasmine Westwood for having the time, taking the time, and thanks for everyone who tuned in today. It was fantastic. And until next time, we'll see you.
Until next time. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.